Hey everybody, and welcome to the first .P Counterattack. I'm Cyphus, that's Roland.
Hello.
And we are not in the same room together tonight, both because of, we could blame it on the new format of the show, or we could be honest and say that it's because God decided that he hated us.
As your brother-in-law said, as you were eating Indian food, God decided to open his asshole and let out a snowstorm. It was weird. I was in the studio. I was playing Dota and streaming, and I opened the door to walk inside, and I opened the door to come pick you up because guy with rear wheel drive Mustang can't really get around in the snow very well.
No, it happened all of a sudden. I mean, it was just 1 minute everything was fine, and the next there was no going anywhere. I saw cars pulled over to the side of the road. I saw 3 or 4 different wrecks. You and I saw a wreck whenever you finally got me dropped off at my place. There was a wreck and a cop pulled over in front of my house.
I saw it more detailed. There's somebody that went into the ditch. It was a truck guy, too. It was like a truck guy that went into a ditch. And all I thought was like, probably driving too fast on these roads, Mr. Truck Guy.
As you sped past him with your breakneck speeds in your 4Runner.
That thing swims, dude. It turns into like an orca and just swims through the snow. Dude.
Man.
It was so much fun driving home. It was so weird. Like, when a weatherman, and I learned this from you, says there's an 80% chance of snow in this area, that means
80%.
And I get this from you.
Yep.
80% of that area will have snow.
Yeah,
not
that's
an 80% chance.
That's their estimation. Yeah, that's what they mean by 80% chance, or at least that's what I had always been, or at least that's what I recall.
Class, I thought.
Yeah, long ago.
So that means that of this area, 80% of it will get snow by their estimation. Not there's an 80% chance of snow, which everybody believes. Anyway, it was weird driving back after dropping you off and driving back from your place, because there were swaths of land that were snowless. I was like, whoa, this is crazy, crazy snow, and then clear. No snow on the roads. None. Like, not even like plowed. Like, just didn't get snow.
Yeah.
And then bam, back in snow. And then when you climb the mountain to get to my house, like as I was climbing, it was just like got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, to the point where I was like, damn. And then
it was easily the worst driving experience I've had this winter, and surprisingly, just coming off of a beautiful week. I mean, where it was 60 plus degrees most of the week. It was amazing.
While I was in Vegas, when it was shitty weather, you guys were having blue skies. Like literally the worst weather Vegas has seen. It was the worst February 18th Vegas had ever seen for rainfall. And it was cold, and it was gray skies the entire time I was there. And I just kept looking at the weather app on my phone and seeing that it was beautiful where I left. Like, I left this gray place to come to a gray place, and then the place that I left was blue. I think it's just gray cloud over my head, honestly. Just literally.
It must be.
Citywide.
I'm down with blaming the weather on you. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I mean, you got to have some explanation for the fake weather.
Yeah, that's right. All right, you should explain, because this is your concept. This is a concept that you had pitched to me a couple days ago.
Sure.
You should explain what we intend to do with this show, or at least our fundamental goal with every episode.
So similar to I sound douchey, but similar to my idea with Theorycraft Thursday all that time ago, where having 2 people in a lane, and they talk about how the lane would go, and then they put it to practice. This is a very similar idea. We're calling this Counterattack, where we are letting statistics choose our heroes for us in a lane as well. So with Theory Crafting Thursday, you get people who are good enough to say, we think these 2 heroes have great synergy, and we're just going to pick them no matter what, and we're going to see how we do. Because I feel like they can stand on their own 2 feet, regardless of any other heroes. Whereas we're going by gathering as much intel as possible, using a variety, 2 websites really, Dota Picker and Dota Buff. and making an educated, uh, you know, pick based
as
on
best we
the
as best
information
we can based off of statistics.
Of course, and what you guys have to realize with this show is we're never going to have 5 heroes to go by unless they pick first, and one of us, either Cyphus or I, pick last. That is the only way that we will ever get the full information on the enemy team.
Right.
We're not taking into account synergy. That is
No.
one thing that is important to be noted here. Dota Picker has a big thing on synergy and counterpicking, and then they do some sort of formula or something. I don't know how they do it to give you a score, a percentage score on a hero against that team. We are just looking at the counterpicking side while gathering intel. So I thought it would be interesting to get to play more Dota, be educational, but be educational not just in like talking about it, but actually putting it to practice and then talking about what happened in practice. So that's the idea with this new show. This would be the pilot episode of Counterattack or Counterpick, one or the other. I like Counterattack though.
I like Counterattack as well because God damn it, we tried. So all right, so I want to preface all of this by saying that both you and I were experiencing insane technical difficulties near the start of this match.
Yes, we were. This match was so. We'll go over picks. We'll go over what we were playing. Yeah. So I was playing on an account I don't usually play on, so I had to fix a bunch of stuff. Several times I crashed because I had wrong settings and it kept crashing my computer for some reason because I wasn't using my monitor's current resolution. I'm using like a 144 hertz monitor, and I think that may have like played weird with that account. I don't know what was going on. You had the cursor the size of
not even just that. So I went into video settings, and I would love to know what other people have in regards to this. And I'm gonna actually open up Dota real quick since I can do that because I'm sitting on my computer and see what that specific setting was. But I noticed that my resolution was not set to 1920 by 1080.
Yeah, you're like it's 2732.96 by 14.
Yeah, I was so confused. Yeah, it's currently set at 2715 by 1527 in exclusive full screen, 16 by 9 aspect ratio. I was so confused to see that.
You just said, I guess your computer just has a weird number of pixels or something like that.
I was so confused, so I immediately. I immediately changed it to 1920 by 1080, and then I got into that match and I realized, oh shit, I completely fucked with
to playing on 27.14569.
Yeah, whatever it was.
That's a weird resolution.
So here's what I did. In panic mode, I switched it back, and then I was like, no, I should just adapt to the other one. So then I switched it back yet again.
and so you semi-habitualized to the broken one.
Oh yeah, dude. And then I was just like, fuck it, it's not gonna work. Not this game. I went back to the shitty, whatever that resolution is, the 2517, whatever the fuck it is. I went back to that immediately, and when I did for that final time, it increased the size of my cursor, no shit, so that it was as large as my hero. It was as big as the goddamn hero.
Right?
Oh yeah, it was the entire game. The entire game was
that way. So there is
a
cursor size option. I wonder if
it's fine now. I just logged back into Dota and it's A-okay. I don't know why.
Maybe you just needed to disconnect and it would fix.
Yeah, it probably would have. But anyway, so we went into this game, and I know you want to use, and this is something we can even talk a little bit, but I know you want to use Dota Picker. I want to use somewhat.
Both. I think it both would be interesting to use. I think Dota Buff has a lot of validity. I also want to use our own brains as well,
right? For sure.
We're not good at Dota. We've been playing for a long time. Doesn't mean you're good at it. And I would definitely like to. That. Yeah, I would definitely like to see what Dota Buff has to say, what Dota Picker has to say, because Dota Picker is kind of going along chronologically as heroes are getting picked and adjusting, right, and and telling you, okay, this hero's good. Oh no, wait, Tinker was just picked. Now this hero's really good. So, and Dota Buff is going to give you just the straight up, this is what's good against this.
Right.
this is what's good against this.
Well, and part of me was
a little bit of both.
Part of me was kind of thinking it might be beneficial to go through Dota buff and see, as heroes on the enemy team are picked, pick it up and see who their worst versus, and try to analyze those lists and look for commonalities. Which there were several commonalities that along the way that could have easily been candidates for us to pick up. That very easily could have been worthwhile to snag in this match. So how do you want to do this? Do you want to go over the pick order and just kind of talk about where we were at in our thinking process, and then I
think like we talked about, I want to go over, so real quick, I'll go over as the heroes were picked. So we're not going to talk so much about our team. We're going to talk more about the enemy team and what order they picked their heroes in. This was all pick ranked. This was not captain's mode or anything like that. There were no bans. I guess there were bans nominated.
Yeah, there were bans.
We're not accounting for that.
Well, the three bans were
we are accounting for that.
Yeah, we do need to account for that because six heroes were nominated: Spectre, Monkey King, Anti-Mage, Luna, Slark, and Invoker. The Spectre, the Monkey King, and the Anti-Mage wound up getting banned out.
I didn't even know Monkey King was allowed in all picks, so that's good. Glad we didn't have to deal with that hero. But hey, Monkey King may pop to the top, and I may have to play it one of these days.
That's right.
Okay, so as we saw things happening, the enemy first picked Dazzle. Right. A safe first pick, what you would think. And so immediately you plug it into Dota Picker, and the top core against Dazzle is, according to Dota Picker, is Luna. And this is normal skill. Dota Picker has an option for skill level, and we had it on normal skill because this game was played in normal skill. Your best core against Dazzle being Luna, according to Dota Picker, and Ancient Apparition is your best utility, which is basically like your 4s and your 5s is kind of, I think, what they list that utility as.
I think so too.
Now, Ancient Apparition makes a ton of sense to me. Luna makes some sense in the fact that Dazzle can only grave one person, I guess, and Luna can eclipse and get a lot of people. Dazzle can't necessarily save everybody, is what I'm thinking there. It says there's a 5% advantage over Dazzle in normal skill. Honestly, I wasn't so sure why. I guess you have a single target, so you either kill Dazzle, you kill the person who isn't graved, I guess, if you're Luna.
I mean, pulling up Luna's Dota buff, there is a semi-interesting trend in that she is considered best versus, at least for this week, against Omni Knight, Undying, Necro, Dazzle. I mean, these are heroes with sustain.
What would you say why? Like, why?
I wonder if it has to do.
That's the whole point of the show. Is we're trying to get into our minds, and of course we encourage everybody to tweet at @DotP_show, email defenseofthepatients@gmail.com why you think this is, because we're just going to be bullshitting back and forth spitballing. We don't have the answer.
All right, so
good players out there do.
I'm going to get the basic possible response out of the way, and that is just that Luna is a hero with a 54% win rate overall. Dazzle is a hero with a 50.5% win rate overall. There is just the possibility that
I think pick rate would matter more than win rate, right? That Luna and Dazzle are going up against each other a lot.
I mean, Dazzle 64th in popularity, Luna 16th in popularity. I mean, they're both in the top 50% of heroes.
I feel like we're still not getting to the root of why.
I mean, so you see her overcoming these.
My goddamn heater! I turned that off. I promise.
That's all good. You see Luna being capable of overcoming these healing heroes. I guess the direction that I was initially going with that is that Luna does have a ton of burst. Dazzle
has a long time to grave. Like that is I think a 0.5 second cast. So you can, as you see Dazzle going to grave, you can hit Dazzle with a lunar beam and stop that. Luna also doesn't run into waves, so doesn't get heal bombed.
So this is why I was wondering if we should have just brought up the heroes that we picked in the first place.
Sure. Okay, so, well, let's go. I'm just going to go through as the enemies picked. Okay,
Yeah,
so
right.
So Dazzle was picked first, and then the enemy picked Mirana second. So we have Dazzle, Mirana, and now Terrorblade is considered the best against those two, and Warlock the best utility. And then we have Dazzle, Mirana, Earthshaker, where Tinker is the best core and Warlock is the best support.
At this point, it's worth noting that in the pick process, our hand was kind of forced by the guy who wanted to go mid, and we had to pick up a support here.
And so you picked Warlock.
We made the call to go with the Warlock.
And Warlock is considered good against Dazzle, Mirana, and Earthshaker.
So I think that's worth noting. I wound up playing the Warlock because of this stage in the counter pick.
Yes. And then their next pick being Phantom Assassin, which puts Tinker at the tippity top. I still hold off on a pick. And then I get to see actually all 5 before getting to pick. So I got to see all 5 heroes, which was the last being Earthshaker. So going over the whole thing, Dazzle, Phantom Assassin, Mirana.
One question I have for you is, so before you reveal the last pick, while we were at Phantom Assassin, Tinker was the top pick. Tinker is not, obviously, a traditional safe lane. Would you have considered playing Tinker safe lane? Is that an element of the show?
For the sake of the show, yes. I was seriously considering it for the sake of the show, yes, but what makes Tinker good? Levels.
Right.
Levels make Tinker good. Gold helps a ton, but levels get gold.
Which is why I feel like we as we move forward, and I think it'll be obvious here why you ended up not picking Tinker in a moment, but as we move forward, I still feel like if we're going to do that, if we're going to find ourselves in that position, maybe...
I see where you're going. Play within the confine of the game. Like, don't pick a specifically mid hero to do a dual safe lane, or possibly even a tri-lane safe lane.
Yeah, because that Tinker pickup.
You want to add that rule? Is that a rule that you want to add? Because this is.
I think that we should. I think there should be. I think we need to, because let's be honest. Like, if you're out there and you're using counter picking as part of your strategy for dealing with a pub, and I don't think you and I are alone in being people that like to do that, that like to see stats. I am a scientifically minded individual. I am comforted by stats. I like seeing empirical evidence to support something, to support decision making. That's where I'm at.
You know how much I like to have anything that isn't well quantified. I am very skeptical of.
Right.
You know that about me, which is why I started looking into counter pickers very early on in Dota, and was always asking people better than me, like, what is the ultimate answer to win Dota? And there is no ultimate answer, but you can use API to help you in informing you of things that you may miss. Really good players, really good drafters, things that pop out: PPD, fly, crit, like the really good, best of the best drafters out there just know this. This is just, but also enough Dota, they just know.
They're not necessarily always. You and I are doing that. Our strategy is exclusively to counterpick, at least for the sake of the show, and frequently it is.
Strategies and synergies, and they understand so well beyond this that they may pick something that the counterpicker would say that is the worst thing you could pick, but it all comes down to execution. So of course, do couch everything we're saying that this was a 2K average game, and we're just kind of giving you a 2K look at what you can do with your buddies if you're a 2-stacker, a 3-stacker, possibly a 5-stacker, even solo. To get yourself, I think it's a good learning experience. Oftentimes I do learn from a counter picker, because it's like, oh yeah, that's so obvious why Abaddon is good against Silencer. It's so obvious. He can use a Photic Shield and get rid of Last Word, Arcane Curse, all of those things. He can use a spell to get rid of the thing that keeps causing damage when you cast a spell. Right. So
I guess I just want to say, in the future, I'm not, if we don't want to lane together in the future, like if you had wanted to pick up the Tinker here and run it mid, that I would have totally been down to do that for the sake of the show.
We're going to have to split up. We're going to have to split up. For the most part, we're going to try to lane together, but it's going to come down to what the team needs and when we have to pick. We're going to try and gather as much information as possible. You guys got to realize that this is more of like an information war. We are trying to gather as much information on our enemies to inform ourselves on what we should best do. The better you get at Dota, this is kind of just a natural thing. But I feel like Dota counter pickers and also Dota buff will help you hone this skill in, and hopefully the show will help you along the way. So
I guess in the future, if you are forced to play safe lane carry, or if you're forced to play a mid, or you're forced to play a support, or whatever, we are not necessarily going to. We're not going to pick that Tinker in the safe lane, right? That's one caveat.
Yes, we already said that.
Okay.
No mids in the safe lane.
Okay.
No like Tide Hunter safe lane. That's like we'll play within the confines of what we understand the game to be.
Sure.
As offlane heroes, mid heroes, we're not going to have a carry Lion because Lion is top of the core list for whatever reason. We will play within reason.
All that aside,
this is an informative, hopefully to help people. We know a lot of our listeners are within like 0 to 3,000. And this is a tool to help you learn. This is a tool basically like hooked on phonics. Like eventually you're not hooked on phonics. You wean yourself off because you learn how to read. You know what I mean? Like that's the...
You start mainlining the phonics.
Yeah. You start to be able to see this without having to plug it in. So anyway, we have Dazzle. I want to get to this.
I know, but it didn't... We've already covered all that. Everybody knows who's been picked so far.
Nobody knows what I picked. Nobody knows what
I'm saying, what's important to say here is you didn't pick the Tinker because their next pick was Tinker.
Yes, and I was going to go over that. Thank you. Okay,
but
so they have, once again, because we've been babbling for 22 minutes, they have Dazzle, Phantom Assassin, Mirana, Tinker, Earthshaker. And according to Dota Picker, Luna is the best core, and I shamefully, shame with shame, pick Luna. A hero that I do play, but God, ever since that 6 damage reduction in 7.02, I feel like that hurt me big time on last hitting with Luna in laning phase, and you definitely saw it in this game, which will be up on YouTube.
So I want to
Luna Warlock in the safe lane.
Yeah, so I want to go through and kind of touch on at least things that maybe each of us noticed about our hero interacting with the enemy heroes that we picked up, and I'll kind of talk a little bit about like the Dota buff as we touch on each of these. So we kind of started with the Dazzle with Luna. We kind of explored some of those options. Was there anything you picked up with the Dazzle along the way as you played that made you like kind of clicked for you, like, oh yeah, this is why I'm awesome against her or against him?
So, yeah, a little bit. So what I noticed is it's pretty obvious the animation with Dazzle going to grade somebody. Basically, my main focus most of the time was to kill Dazzle. Also, the other thing I noticed is Dazzle cannot heal everybody and keep everybody up when I have Eclipse on. So what was happening is I would beam Dazzle. So Dazzle is now stunned for a marginal amount of time from Lucent Beam. And I would hit Eclipse. And then I would hope to kill Dazzle before a Grave got off. If a Grave did get off, that's only one person that's safe from my Eclipse.
Right.
So from that perspective, yes, I've noticed that Luna seemed good. Also, it doesn't matter if Dazzle's graved. My glaives are still bouncing off him. So Dazzle still works well because Dazzle kind of is in the middle of a fight.
Or whoever was graved, right? So if Dazzle graved somebody up in the front line, what did you really care? You could keep hitting that person.
That just clicked with me. Is, okay, they're graved, and they're trying to get out of the battle. Well, my glaives are bouncing everywhere, and if they're graved, they're probably at a very low health. One glaive bounce after the grave's gone, they're dead.
Well,
so
my
they're really
point
not that safe with a grave.
My point being that if somebody was graved and was up on the front line, even it still meant that you could primarily attack that target and have your glaives bounce to everybody behind them. You had easy access to continue to get damage to be spreading over the entire team. It didn't matter if that person was graved. In fact, you were probably advantaged in any fight to just attack whoever was closest to you, even if they were graved.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't. I'm not gonna say that I noticed it though. Big, like it just felt. Dazzle didn't do normal things this game as well.
That's
Dazzle
for sure.
was not a normal Dazzle, and we'll get into that a little bit. But
as
far as Dazzle, I think the biggest thing is Dazzle graves somebody, and that person is probably going to die the second Grave comes off because so many glaives are bouncing everywhere.
Sure.
So Grave kind of becomes a null point later in game because it's supposed to get them away, but yet they have glaives bouncing everywhere, and they're probably going to die anyway. Or if they're running away, I tested it today. It's about a third of your screen is how the range of Lucent Beam. So you got to figure that's a pretty good distance that I can hit somebody for a big nuke and a small stun.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
on the Warlock front, I feel like I noticed quite a bit, and a couple of them are things that I think Luna and Warlock share in common. Because I guess I'll go over that real quick, which is obviously there was incredible synergy between Fatal Bonds and Glaives. It was awesome when it did go off. I felt like the team melted. Even if I didn't have golems up, even if I didn't get a slowdown, if I could get a Fatal Bonds off and you were alive long enough to get some glaives pumping through that team, they really felt like they melted in front of us. And I think that kind of speaks to, more or less what you were talking about as far as overcoming Grave, but also overcoming Weave. Because having Fatal Bonds go out there, maybe their armor was kind of tanking up a bit, but between Fatal Bonds and between Glaives, we were almost able to provide that AoE damage to overcome that extra armor boost. You know what I mean?
It also makes a lot of sense that Dazzle's big thing is protecting against physical, whereas a lot of Luna's damage will come from Eclipse, and guess what? It doesn't matter if you have 100 million armor. Eclipse ignores your armor.
Yeah. So the other big thing I noticed almost right away, and it was part of the second death I think that you experienced in the game, is Shadow Word has a way longer duration than Shallow Grave does. And Dazzle is typically going to shallow himself or someone else when they are near death, and you throw that Shadow Word on them, and unless they have some insane healing coming their way pretty quickly, Shadow Word can usually get the last tick of damage, even if they're not on the screen. I say it was responsible for your death, obviously, just because it was that moment, and I had so many absurd deaths before this, but that where you dove the tower, and I was like, no, it's he's Shadow Worded, he's fine, it's good, he's dead. That guy's dead.
No, I want to kill him, then I'd Lucent beamed him and died. It was stupid. Yeah. No, that game started out as a fucking train wreck, and we had to work really hard to pick up the pieces and get the train back on.
So Dazzle's win rate versus Luna is a 44.18%, and Dazzle's win rate versus Warlock only rises to a measly 46.84%. So we definitely, from Dota buff standards, had the advantage over that Dazzle.
Of course. And looking at Dazzle as well, Dazzle is worst versus Ancient Apparition, Axe, Pugna, Outworld Devourer, Meepo, Tinker, Arc Warden, Phantom Lancer. Looking at these heroes, why he would be worse versus, it looks like there's a lot of tick damage, there's a lot of burst. Tinker burst, Meepo burst. OD doesn't necessarily burst, but can steal int. Axe, obviously, Cole's through.
I don't want to go over all the fuck Dazzle. We're worried about Luna, Warlock, and how we interacted against that Dazzle. That's what I say.
For sure. I'm just saying these are other heroes that are good versus Dazzle.
So you want to move on to the Mirana pickup?
Sure.
What do you feel like your advantage over the Mirana? Where do you feel like that came
I
from?
feel like Mirana actually. So, if you were to ask me right now, without statistics or anything in front of me, if you were to just ask me, do you feel like Luna beats Mirana? I would say probably not. I would say that Mirana actually is better against Luna than Luna is good against Mirana. For the one reason of Moonlight Shadow. That is such a pain in the ass. Uh, so many times there would be a fight that I eclipse and Moonlight Shadow hits, and then my eclipse is wasted. Um, Also, Mirana, I hit Mirana with a Lucent Beam. Lucent Beam is kind of your I'm going to catch up to you ability on Luna, is how I feel. Like I Lucent Beam you, then I want to run toward you and right click you, right?
Yeah.
With Mirana, I Lucent Beam and she leaps away. Also, if I get arrowed, I'm dead. 90% of the time. My big thing with Luna is I get my Dragon Lance and I can keep my distance. I can Lucent Beam you. I can kite you. I can kind of stay back from the fight and have glaives bounce around. Whereas Mirana can easily initiate on me and easily allow her teammates to initiate on me or arrow me and
It
then
it's
allow her
funny
teammates
you
to arrow
say
me yet again.
it's funny you say that because I've always heard Proud describe Luna as a hero that wants to be up in the mix, not a hero
Well,
that wants to.
that's what Dragonlance allows you to do is you can still stay back a bit with your glaives. You want to be up in the mix with Eclipse. That's why you get BKB. But when your BKB's down, you don't want to be up in the mix. I mean, I don't think. I think you want to hit people for sure. I mean, you're talking to somebody who is not 5K. Like I'm telling you from my brain right now how I perceive Luna and playing Luna, and I'm not a good Luna, which is I want to be in the fight, but I don't want to be in melee range with anybody. Why? Why? I have a Dragon Lance. Why would I buy a
Right.
Dragon Lance if I want to be in melee range with anybody? I
Uh, for
want to be. I
for
want to be in the
for the
mix for
stats, for the
sure.
catch, for the
For the, I
and
know for the
I'm more
catches,
playing.
but I know you're
I'm
playing devil's advocate,
Yeah.
but like I said, a third of my screen is the roughly the range that Lucent Beam has. With Eclipse, definitely, like as you saw, I was up in the mix with Eclipse. You would drop your golems, and what would I do? I'd BKB, run straight in the middle of them, and hit Eclipse. But
Right.
as my Eclipse is wearing off, I'm not just still standing there. I'm running back out of the fight,
Yeah.
so that I can still kite and throw glaives and let them bounce around. Because the glaives are the big reason you want Luna to be in the middle of the fight. You want glaives to be bouncing around. And of course, this is coming from me, Roland, uh, somebody who is historically not good at Dota. Um, yeah, I mean, with when I have my BKB on and I'm not getting nuked down by Starfall from Mirana or Tinker Laser or Tinker the fucking rockets or Tinker Marcher machines and all the magical shit that they had. Yeah, I want to be in the mix of it. But the second my BKB is wearing, I want to get out of there, so I'm not CC'd and so I can continue to throw out glaives and get the damage in. Is the way I view the way you want to take a fight with Luna.
Yeah.
But
I guess I would
that's
say
just me.
I definitely experienced some of what you were talking about with the Mirana in this particular game, but I think a lot. I think our judgment on that front might be colored somewhat from our obviously miserable rocky start, because she was who we were feeding in that lane. We were feeding a Mirana in lane, so I think our judgment is definitely going to be colored by that interaction in this last game. So I guess just to dive right into it, Luna has a 40, or sorry, Mirana versus Luna only has a 44% win rate, and Mirana versus Warlock only has a 46.6 win rate. So we were definitely advantaged overall by the stats in that regard. I honestly, I couldn't tell you what the advantage is, other than perhaps maybe just that we're both good heroes.
So Mirana's win rate is dismal. So I'm showing her advantage. She is still advantaged over Luna very marginally at 0.38%. So she has a 44% win rate. Mirana's overall win rate is shit, 49%. So Mirana doesn't win often.
Right.
Mirana loses more often than she wins. But according to the advantages on Dota buff, Mirana does have a marginal advantage over Luna at 0.3.
And 0.34% marginal advantage over Warlock. And I guess to speak to that advantage statistic, which I would love to delve into why, and we should try to get some folks from Dota Buff on to even just talk about this kind of stuff. But when I think about everything that Warlock can do, I mean, sure, Fatal Bonds is good because Fatal Bonds is good, right? There's little that Luna can do or that Mirana can do to really counter that. I suppose you could say that Moonlight Shadow is a great counter to Fatal Bonds. If you see Fatal Bonds go down, you could Moonlight Shadow, but then you're talking about wasting a pretty significant cooldown to
taking damage. Because where does Fatal Bonds usually go? I mean, it goes on.
Well, I just mean if Fatal Bonds is on the entire team and she uses Moonlight Shadow to kind of de-initiate from a team fight, sure. But by the same token,
it's some creeps though. But yeah,
yeah. But by the same token, it's hurt her maybe more in the long run because the joke's on her. That's a 20-second cooldown for me or an 18-second cooldown for me, and that's a 60-second plus cooldown for her depending on level. So I Fatal Bonds, meh. I don't feel like I have a huge advantage there.
Here's how I look at Mirana versus Warlock: is Warlock does this slow field, and Mirana says "yeah" and jumps away, and is out of your slow field. Guess who's standing still when he's doing his slow field? Warlock. Guess how easy it is to hit a target that isn't moving. Much easier to hit than a target that is moving.
Yeah. So if I don't catch her in upheaval, then she is able to target me with an arrow pretty easily. I guess
if you do catch her in upheaval, she's able to probably target you with an arrow and get you to stop the upheaval.
Yeah, also, odds are I'm not using upheaval though solo. You know what I mean? Usually she's more inclined to run if I've thrown down upheaval.
Sure, but she can pounce out and then arrow you. Also, she can just pounce toward you, and Mirana's build Ags. That's what they do. Mirana didn't have an Ags, now Mirana does, and it's a good Ags. And so, Mirana, what do you do if you're Warlock and Mirana jumps on you? I mean, do you expend golems? And just no, golems! And then,
sure.
You get double Starfall and you're dead.
And this is kind of my point. Like the things that Warlock possesses that are good against her are just the things that Warlock possesses that are generally very good overall. There's doesn't really have
specific.
Yeah, he doesn't have a specific counter to her, and if anything, they relatively balance each other out because, like I said, she can de-initiate with the Moonlight Shadow, but joke's maybe kind of on her. On the flip side, he can try to burn her with upheaval, but like you said, she can pounce out of it, and even if she's not using it, I think you focus too much on the offense. I think she can pounce out of that defensively, and by the time you catch up to her, the slow's probably worn off.
Well, I mean, the second you throw it down, she can just pounce and be like, oh, blip, instead of the other people that have to walk out while it's slowly gaining more momentum, like Upheaval does, where the longer it's being cast, the slower you get. So if you have to walk out of it, you're getting a lot slower, whereas if you're pouncing out of it,
you're getting out of it pretty quick.
Pounce at max level has a really short cooldown.
Yeah. So I'm screw Mirana. I'm done. I'm done with her. I don't know why. Like I said, I think you're right. I think overall it just kind of speaks. It kind of more is a testament to the overall weakness of that hero and the overall strength of the two heroes that we wound up selecting.
Yeah, but we can both attest to the fact that Moonlight Shadow totally sucked to deal with.
Well, it both sucked and it didn't. Honestly, like a big part of it was just that I was
used it well, but it sucks to deal with, especially with Luna.
I was playing Warlock, as I like to call him, position 5 Warlock, and I just couldn't keep up with the defensive sentries until we were forced back into our base, and of course I had I went for a Midas that game because I was like, screw it, this game's gonna go long. I'm gonna get a Midas. I'm gonna get my Ags. I'm gonna get my Refresher at some point, and I need to buy a fuckload of Sentry Wards. And I wonder if I can pull up how many I bought that game. I'm sure I can, but it was a goddamned ridiculous amount.
Oh, now it shows individuals, huh? It used to just show sets.
I bought 39 sentries that game.
That's cool. So you spent 3,900 gold on sentries.
Yeah. So I mean like you can counter Moonlight. It just, there you go. And yes, you could argue I could have bought a gem, but I was way too far behind to do that. Yeah.
You would have just been giving up gems.
I would have just fed 900 net worth.
Yeah. Sentries.
So let's move on to Earthshaker. No, we definitely didn't. So Earthshaker, what did you notice with Luna versus the old Earthshaker?
You know, the same kind of thing that you had to say with Warlock is that I would say that Earthshaker is actually okay-ish against Luna in the fact that I do create illusions, and I do like to get into the mix of things. I'm at least in epicenter range of things, and I noticed that several times that I did die to epicenters. And what do I get? I get Echo Slam. Thank you. And what do I get? I get Manta Style on Luna. You get Manta Style on Luna. So
well, I produce two golems. You know, between
you produce two columns. Sure,
me and all of our ads was 6 entities in one location.
Yeah, I would say that Luna is just good, and for the same reasons that Warlock is just good, Luna is just good, and that's why that's pretty much it with Earthshaker. He actually really sucks. He sucks to a certain degree. Like, it's basically Earthshaker is, he has a thing that blocks pathing, which sucks. He has Echo Slam, yes, which sucks. But for the most part, he's not going to be able to get his W off on me, whatever that is, totem shaker thing. Because, like I said, I don't want to be in melee range of anybody. But yeah, I would just say that I'm just a good hero right now. Luna, I'm Luna. Hi, nice to meet you. And I would say that just Luna is just good, and that's why we weren't really that worried. Earthshaker sucked for trying to run away and getting hit by a fissure and dying when I'm at low health, that type of thing. But that would suck for any hero.
And again, I'll say that I think our experience against him may have been somewhat colored by the fact that he was part of the dual off lane that we were definitely feeding into early on, and he definitely got under our skin a bit. But I guess all that being said,
unlimited mana.
It did.
That's what it felt like. He probably just had a couple, clarities.
I'll say that Earthshaker is a blink builder, so having Fatal Bonds to cancel his blink was kind of nice. He's a melee hero. He's usually trying to get into the mix, so anytime that he initiated poorly, I was usually able to capitalize on that, I felt like, between snagging him with Fatal Bonds and tossing down Upheaval. I couldn't kill him myself, but I could usually make sure that somebody else did. I felt like that was at least one maybe advantage that I had over him. But again, I think I think we probably fed into him somewhat in that, we created a lot of things for Echo Slam to work off of.
Yep. And a very, very marginal advantage over Luna at 0.06%.
Yeah, and Warlock is just underneath that at 0.05%.
Yeah, 0.05%. So, I mean, makes sense.
His overall win rate is 44.39% versus Luna and 46.73% versus a Warlock. So, I mean, I don't know, what's his overall win rate?
49%. So, once again, we're dealing with another hero that loses more often than he wins. And obviously, Luna, I'm going to go ahead and guess, I haven't even looked, wins more often than she loses. Yeah, 54%. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just naturally going to happen. So,
right. Should we move on?
Like, I literally don't have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I don't either. Let's move on to the Phantom Assassin, because this Phantom Assassin, as the game progressed, was probably the real problem on the team. There was a brief stint where Tinker was doing Tinker things, and it kind of blew. But I would say overall, the PA was maybe their most formidable hero. She's second in popularity overall. She's a 54% win rate overall. So this hero is not necessarily crazily outclassed in those types of stats compared to a Warlock or compared to a Luna. so I guess of interesting note right off the bat, she's considered to have a slight advantage over Warlock with a 0.26%, and she actually has a 51.7% win rate against Warlock. So and this pick, of course, occurred after I had already locked in the Warlock. So I was somewhat disadvantaged by the stats against.
Break that down because I think that's pretty easy. I mean,
if the moment I'm out of position,
she can get on top of you. Super easy. She can get on top of you.
And I'm standing still anytime I'm casting upheaval. So if I was throwing down an upheaval trying to help the team, upheaval don't stop blink strike. That's for fucking sure.
And also, like, think about what Warlock builds. Warlock usually does not build Glimmer Cape, does not build Force Staff, does not build. Okay, he builds Glimmer Cape. Sometimes.
Yeah, I'll build Glimmer Cape on Warlock.
Okay, so
it's just a good support item all around.
Save it for a little while. But yeah, Phantom Assassin really good against you. She doesn't care so much about upheaval because she just Phantom strikes onto you and you're dead in 2 or 3 hits. That
being said, I mean, I don't feel like she has that. The advantage she has over Warlock is the stupid advantage that she has over every support, and that is that you're a little bit squishier than everybody else. The moment you're out of position, or the moment you're standing still, or the moment you're doing anything like that, I mean, it's the same thing as a CM, the same thing as a Shadow Shaman.
It's not the same thing as a CM. I mean, it is
the same thing as a CM. Because she could get me to within a sliver of health with a single crit dagger. How many games have you played as a CM? Or hell, played as a PA, and I can tell you I giggle with glee every time I toss out a crit dagger against some poor support and just watch them perish in a single dagger. It happens. That's support life versus a PA. That's just life. I don't know.
For sure. She loses to Crystal Maiden more often.
Yeah, but I mean I'm saying, like, that's one of those things that happens. I mean, it just, and you're not talking about that drastic of a difference. CM at like a 48% win rate versus Warlock's, or her win rate over Warlock at 51%. Like, there's slight advantages, and Warlock still has his ability to kind of overcome. She still falls. She still is screwed by fatal bonds the same way everybody else is. If she doesn't go BKB, which a lot of PAs obviously do. Upheaval, I don't think does much for her, like we discussed. But Shadow Word in the early game is amazing against PA. Dropping golems on a PA, always nice to get her to sit still and allow the team to initiate. So I mean, I do think that I don't think Warlock is crazily outclassed by PA. I think that 51% win rate, while it might feel big, is somewhat misleading.
Yeah,
I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you have to say. You're good against PA for the reasons Warlock is good against heroes, in that you have a good stun on her, and Shadow Word is a really good harassment at early levels. It doesn't matter later on, but it does matter first 15-20 minutes. Luna against PA sucks. Luna, like I said, you don't want people in melee range. You want people, at an arm's length, right? You want to be able to hold that person's head as they're trying to punch you, right?
I disagree somewhat there. Don't you think you want? I think the best thing in the world for you to do, especially with a PA that is squishy, if it's not for were it not for her evasion, the best thing for you in the world is if she blink strikes on you and tries to go on you, and you can pop that eclipse. Yeah.
For sure. No, that is the one thing that Luna has going for her against PA but I feel like a good PA should know that is a very real possibility, and PAs don't just sometimes build BKB. PA should build BKB. The one thing that is stopping PA from winning every game ever is a BKB. And if you'll notice, people were giving that PA endless amounts of shit until she got a BKB. Because getting crowd controlled on PA is the worst thing that can happen to you, because you can jump in a fight, jump out of a fight, jump in a fight, throw a dagger, crit, jump out, bam, and evasive, super fast.
Yeah, I guess I would say I feel like unless the PA, I feel like what made that PA feel stronger against you more than anything was that she had pretty solid crowd control to lock you down.
2 items too.
Yeah,
Like for a very long time, she was way ahead. So
she was ahead. There was that combination of her being ahead, but she also had the lockdown to deal with you, because I think most PAs, all things being equal, probably want to dance around to Luna. Probably want to throw a dagger at you from that nice 1200 range and then just back up and not necessarily just dive in.
For sure.
But you're right. She was ahead enough that she could dive in on you. And So I mean, I guess my point more being like, I don't know that. I don't know that the distance. I don't know. I think distance might play. I think maybe and again, I say this with humble, miserable Dota noob knowledge, but I think you might need to reevaluate the way that you view like range with Luna as a strength. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, Dragonlance is core, and that's not for no good reason. I feel like you getting within melee range on any ranged hero is ill-advised, with the exception of TA, because TA may as well be a melee hero. But I do agree with you that yes, it is good if a Phantom Assassin Phantom strikes me and I hit Eclipse. That is very good for Luna.
And maybe my view is being somewhat colored by comments of her Proud make, about Luna wanting to kind of be up in the mix. But
Luna does okay when Proud says up in the mix. That means like not standing way back. Luna wants to be in the fight, glaives bouncing everywhere, but that doesn't mean you want to be standing right next to an Ursa. That doesn't mean you want to be letting a Beastmaster beat on you. Like, you don't melee range is what I'm saying. That is literally like 100 range. That is like how big a TP scroll on the ground is. That's what I mean by melee range. And Dragonlance helps you be in the fight. And I'm not talking I'm way off in the distance. Luna doesn't have a long range. Even with Dragonlance doesn't have a long range. Probably like not even the range of a Lina level 1 with Dragonlance, like not even close. Lena's a bad example. Doesn't even probably has the range of a Medusa with Dragonlance, maybe. And so yeah, you're definitely in the mix. And yeah, with Eclipse, you want to be as close as possible to them with no creeps around, so you get as many bounces on heroes as possible. But yes, I feel like Luna though is good against PA for sure. I feel like the only thing that sucks is Luna kind of has this like predestined like item path that you kind of have to change up. I don't know. I feel I was not going to buy an MKB, and then I did, and I felt like the game got a ton easier after that. And
what might have been an interesting choice for you to go this game would have been Silver Edge. You could have done.
I'm still glad I did MKB because Tinker Laser.
Yeah, for sure.
That was another thing. And Tinker, I mean, I would like to think that Tinker is definitely advantaged over Luna, that Tinker is definitely really good against Luna. But yeah, so basically my big worry is if I don't have a BKB against Phantom Assassin, I'm also in trouble because the dagger slow and running away. Although it's not a big thing against PA in general, but having a BKB allows me to not get crowd controlled, so I can focus down Phantom Assassin, so I can keep right clicking, so I can get through the evasion and glaive if I still go like the butterfly route instead of stopping for an MKB, which I did do in this game. But I would say MKB is not a normal item for Luna. Looking at it, most used items, it's not anywhere near the top most used items, whereas Butterfly, Dragonlance, Mantis Style, Satanic are. I feel like usually you wouldn't go an MKB against the PA as Luna.
Yeah,
but it was necessary because like we were saying, she was so many items ahead. I had to rush BKB because of the Tinker. I had to get BKB before Yasha even. Before I went Dragonlance BKB because we were so behind, and I'm thankful that I did that because it allowed my eclipses to last, and that's all the team really needed from me in order.
Yeah, because I get to a certain point. I think at the end of the day, the biggest advantage that Luna has over PA is that magic burst, because that's what you need to take down the PA. That's early on, late game. I,
Mhm.
you're looking to fight around those BKB timings for the PA, and if you can do that properly, then that's her primary strength.
And the BKB makes it so I can run in the middle of everybody with Eclipse. You know what I mean? So I don't get stunned out. But that is just reiterative of me.
All right,
Anyway, let's go on
move
to
on.
Tinker.
Yeah, let's do this last bastard. So Tinker, almost wound up being our pick. That was a possibility. They last picked him. They snagged him at the end and ran him mid. He has a 2.58% advantage over Luna, but only a 45.58% win rate against Luna. On the
win rate overall?
His win rate overall is a 48%. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just Luna just is good. Like, that's the problem is, yeah, I mean, if I went a mid matchup Luna v Tinker, Tinker's going to beat me every fucking time. Or should, if all things are equal. Two equal computers, one on Luna, one on Tinker. Tinker wins every time. Because I can, what do? I blast him with Lucent Beam, and then he lasers me so I can't right click him. Rockets me, Marcher Machines, and I blow up. Like, if I get a BKB though, on the other hand, in some cases I can do things, but for the most part, he just rearm blinks away, and I can't really catch him.
Right. So, I think his advantage feels a lot like it's based on a snowball. You know what I mean? Like I think if
all of his skills are good against Luna, like every single one is extremely good against Luna.
Up until the point where you get a BKB and you are playing a hero that is incredibly effective at farming.
Even then, though, when is Tinker in? Tinker shouldn't be in the mix. That's a hero that is staying in the back and rocketing. He's the only time Tinker's in the battle is to laser, and laser still has a pretty good range. And Tinker's build Aether Lens, so Tinker walks up, he lasers me, he backs up, he rearms, he's throwing missiles, he's throwing Marcher Machines. Like my Eclipse isn't really doing anything. He's now made it so I'm doing no damage with my right click. Bounces still do damage, but I'm not doing that initial damage. And it sucks, and I can't catch him. Like I Lucent Beam him, and he runs away and gets the blink. Like I never will ever catch him. And if you think about Luna's items, Luna doesn't build like a Scythe of Ice. Luna doesn't build an Orchid, or I guess Orchid isn't the best example, like an Atos or anything. Luna just literally can't catch that sneaky fuck. And Luna likes to push waves out. So does Tinker. But Tinker is way more mobile than Luna. So Luna is like, all right, I'm going to push all these lanes out. It's going to be great. Glaives are bouncing everywhere. And then all of a sudden, Tinker's pushed a wave into you, which can work to your advantage and your disadvantage, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I'd agree.
Because, I mean, it's gold being pushed into you, but, you want to keep your lanes pushed out for the most part.
Yeah. No, I think you're... I think you're dead on there. I think that's a more even matchup than maybe the stats reveal than anything.
Mm-hmm. I would say Tinker is definitely advantage. Like Tinker blinks in. Like I will tell you in that game, every time I saw Tinker not blinking in, sorry, Boots of Traveling in on a creep, I would Lucent Beam the creep. I would right click the shit out of the creep. I would do whatever I could so Tinker could not BOT in on the creep wave I was attacking.
Right,
but if he does, I'm lasered, I'm scythed, I'm Dagoned, I'm dead. And that's
still, again, I feel like so much of that depends on momentum in the game. You know what I mean? Like Tinker requires that snowball to get going, so that he is overwhelming, so that he is a force that you don't necessarily know how to deal with, or can't really be reckoned with. And even
what mid isn't what mid, it doesn't need items. Like that is the role of mid.
No, sure, but I mean, you know what I mean when I talk about snowbally heroes. Like there are heroes like
sure. I would say that there are a lot more
that are so dependent. That are because you're right. Sure, all mids are somewhat snowbally, but
they're all item dependent. Like think about every mid.
Sure, I mean,
like that argument just like can't stand. Like we're talking about this like as though it's in a vacuum, frictionless, whatever. We're going to assume that Tinker has a Blink Dagger, Boots of Travel, and Aether Lens. Like that is like I'm not even going to say as Dagon. I'm not even going to say as E-Blade or Scythe of Ice. I'm just going to say as Aether Lens, BOTs, and Blink Dagger.
No. I think you're missing. I think you're missing my point. I'm saying in specifically the Luna Tinker matchup. It is. I still think it's way more incredibly dependent on momentum, because by the time you can get to I think Luna does one thing decently against Tinker, and that is probably defend high ground. Right, and sure, you can make an argument.
Does the same.
Sure, you can make that argument as well.
Luna.
Sure.
So I don't even see Tinker until what? Laning phase is over. I don't see Tinker until he gets Boots of Travel. Maybe. There's no. It depends on if mid loses, or if our mid wins. Yeah, Tinker sucks against Luna if our mid wins because he lost his lane. But if Tinker wins his lane. Yeah, he's really good against Luna.
Right,
like,
but
it's like such a situational argument that you're making. Like, I'm not laning against him ever. So yeah, if like our mid loses, he's gonna be good against me. If our mid wins, he's gonna be bad against me. But you can say that about any mid.
No, not necessarily. I for instance, OD. Luna wrecks OD. She has an incredible win rate over OD. She is 58.63%, meaning that in some of those games there are ODs that won their mid lane and lost the game to a Luna in the late game, because Luna's going to outfarm the OD. Luna just straight up is going to outfarm an OD.
Well, let's think about it. What are OD's win conditions versus a Luna in a one-on-one situation? What does Luna do to OD, and what does OD do to Luna? OD has a short range.
Right. No, I'm more bringing this up. I mean, I don't want to delve necessarily into a big OD like V Luna situation, but my point more being that. That's an example of a carry, or that's an example of a core that's run mid who Luna can just completely outfarm and completely outpace sans momentum. Right? Even if momentum is in the favor of the momentum is in the favor of the OD, Luna can very easily come back and overcome that momentum that's in the favor of the OD because of her capability of farming efficiently. The same is not necessarily true for Tinker, who, if he gets that momentum, can make life hell for that Luna because he's so comparable to her in his ability to farm. That's the difference. I get. That's the point that I'm more making here. Like, I think that's what makes that lineup. I think that's what makes that matchup maybe on paper. I guess I feel like the stats somewhat cloud how even that matchup actually is between Luna and Tinker. Is my point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. Is what I'll say.
Like I don't feel like you're that out. I don't feel like you're that outclassed by the Tinker. I feel like it's way closer. I feel like the arguments I feel like the argument has more to do with momentum.
I've said what I've said. Like his what he does, what Tinker does to Luna, are bad for Luna.
Sure,
that's it.
They're bad for all heroes, but it's not like it's right. This is that's the thing.
Right-clicking hero that has no catch. That is what I'm saying. Tinker has an advantage over Luna, both statistically and, in my opinion.
Sure, I guess my point more being that
Laser sucks.
Yeah, laser sucks for everybody. Laser sucks for.
Does laser suck for Warlock? I mean,
yeah, no. Laser sucks for Warlock because it fucking hurts, and I'm a squishy bastard.
Damage, but it does the same. Okay, never mind.
No, but I mean,
you're making like a situational argument, whereas I'd like to make more of this hero does this and this hero does this, and that's why this hero is good against that hero. Whereas you're
Right.
saying like, yeah, well, under these situational circumstances,
No. What I'm
Luna would be more even if they didn't
our
have
I
this
thought our
on the
goal was to
X factor
also
of mid.
right. I feel like I am doing precisely that. I feel like you want to disagree with me though. So you're somewhat you're taking a different stance on the mission
disagree
here.
with you. I do disagree with you in that I don't think it's an even matchup. I think Necro. Sorry, I was looking at it. I think Tinker is good against Luna, and I think Luna is bad against Tinker. That's all I'm saying. Like that is like the whole of my argument.
Right.
And
I guess my point being, if Tinker had that much of an advantage over you, then why is his overall win rate still at a lousy 45.5%?
Go ahead and ask Ice Frog, dude.
Well, but I mean, we picked him because he's a counter pick, right? We picked her against him because she was a counter pick.
I think so. Luna here, okay. Luna is a 5% advantage, according to Dota Picker. Okay, a 5% advantage over Dazzle, a 3.79% advantage over Phantom Assassin, a 2.21% advantage over Mirana, a negative 1.79% advantage, or disadvantage rather, over Tinker, and a plus 0.07% advantage over Earthshaker in normal skill according to Dota Picker. So what it's doing is it's not saying you're good against everybody. It's saying cumulatively you are at a 5.3% advantage over all 5 of the enemy heroes. That's not saying you're good against Tinker. That's saying that you're so good against the other heroes that you can deal with having a disadvantage.
Right. But by win rate, Luna is advantaged over Tinker by win rate alone.
Okay, I agree.
which I think testifies to.
I fucking digress is what I'm going to go ahead and say. Like, so hard do I digress. Like this just feels like such.
I feel like I'm making a valid point. I feel like I'm making a valid point. I feel like
do you want to be validated? You're validated. There you go. Here's your validation. I just punched a hole in it. You can go now.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. Here's your validation ticket. Punched. Okay. You're validated.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, Bria.
Cool, dude. Like, your argument is lame, is all I'm going to say.
My argument is lame. Okay.
Your argument's lame, and it makes, like, okay, what is your argument? Because, sorry, I haven't really been listening to it. Let's go
oh, my God. My argument is that I feel like...
concisely.
I feel like that advantage that is calculated by Dota Buff, and it is essentially the same number that Dota Picker is providing you. I feel like that advantage, given Tinker's overall poor performance and given Tinker's poor performance versus Luna win rate wise, his overall win rate being I just left fucking Tinker 48% overall and 45% versus Luna. I feel like the only way that a Tinker overcomes a Luna is with appropriate and forceful momentum, and that Luna is easily, because of her capability of farming, all of the things that you talk about that are built in bad things for Luna are overcome by Luna's innate ability to farm and basically overtake that momentum. Because your whole thing was, unless I get a BKB. And I'm like, right. Which means Tinker requires such intense momentum to overcome and defeat her that he has to end that game before she's able to buy a BKB, which is exceptionally difficult to do against that hero because of her innate ability to farm.
Okay, well, another argument would be BKB has a long cooldown, and his spells have essentially a 0 cooldown with rearm. So my BKB lasts 10 seconds. His spells are always up.
Right, and if you use your BKB to kill him, and here's your whole like in a vacuum thing.
But my whole argument was I cannot catch him to kill him. How do I catch him? Do I build Blink Dagger? No. What do? I Lucent Beam him like I was saying, and I try and run after him. He lasers me. That way I'm not canceling Blink when I'm attacking him, and he runs. And then he blinks away and TP's home. There is nothing I can do to kill a Tinker, even if my BKB is activated. I can live, I can survive against the Tinker with a BKB, but that does not enable me to
You can
kill
also
him.
kill a Tinker with BKB who stays around to try to fight you, who stays around to try to kill you. I mean, if
That
you
would
pop
be
the BKB,
that would be a Tinker that lost mid. That would be a dumb Tinker. That's
right?
a bad
Well,
Tinker.
sure, but
So you're, like, assuming the Luna is good, the
no.
Tinker's
What I'm
bad.
saying is a Tinker that isn't dumb and disengages from you also allows you to disengage from him, and then you, if you're not a dumb Luna, can re-engage with your BKB back and active. I'm saying that I think that matchup is I think that matchup is exaggerated somewhat, that advantage that he has. That's my argument, and I think stats mostly back me up.
Okay. Yeah. I like I said, I digress. I'm just saying that they're like my points. My points are my points, and I feel vindicated. You feel vindicated. And we can go on our way.
Sure. So Warlock against the Tinker. Tinker is considered to have a 0.39% advantage over Warlock, but only has a 45.92% win rate. I mean, hell, we touched on it. It sucks to be anywhere that a Tinker is when you're a Warlock. You're standing still, rockets hit you. You're in a lane, you're out of position, he blinks in on you and lasers you. You want to walk through an area with marching machines? Nope, you can't do that because you're fucking squishy. It all sucks. But you do have a little bit of catch for him at least.
What? Upheaval?
Well, golems. Golems into upheaval. I mean, golems are constantly burning, which means you're not going to be able to blink. So, yeah, golems,
For sure.
upheaval, fatal bonds, all those things stop blink. So, I mean, a Tinker.
Laser golems, which sucks. And
yeah.
If he gets Ags, he can laser both your golems, supposing you have Ags, because I'm guessing the Tinker is bad and the Warlock is good in this situation.
Well, I mean, let's hope.
And that you have a Scythe on the Warlock, so Tinker actually does lose against Warlock because you already have a Scythe on Warlock.
You know, I get the point that you're trying to make, but my point was actually...
Warlock actually should win because the Golems drop in the Scythe, and then you have a Veil too, because every Warlock has a Veil. Then you increase the magic damage, and you have a Dagon all of a sudden as well, and you hit him with a Dagon, and he dies.
No, you know what?
You don't have a BKB.
You know what all this is a testament to more than anything is that Tinker feels like a weak hero right now. Overall,
yeah, that is exactly what it is.
But hey, these are ways to elucidate that information. These are ways to explore and
what a
discuss.
Patronizing way to say elucidate.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm definitely like a little like I don't even fume in game, but I'm fuming at you because you're ignorant, dude. You're ignorant.
My god, no, you are. What are you talking about?
I have some MMR to back your ignorance. Okay?
Oh, thank God! Oh, thank God you turned into that guy. I'm so glad.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you're that guy.
I did. I'm gonna pull that guy card. I'm gonna pull top net worth on that game card too.
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh, and the Luna. Yeah. How did you ever come back from that game? How did you? Oh, was it that innate ability to farm?
No, it was getting an MKB instead of getting the Divine Rapier that I was going to get because all hope was lost. And I was like, no, I'll get an MKB, and if I can get a Divine Rapier, I'll do it. But I never did. And what happened was I got to level 25, and PA can't get past level 25. PA got there a lot quicker than me, and I eventually caught up, and they kept throwing their bodies in for megas when that's not what they needed to do. They needed to get a pick and then win. They didn't need to keep trying to mega us, and they had
ample opportunity.
Dota. There was a time where they could have just won, but in Dota, I mean, even in 3K Dota, even like in a lot of tiers of Dota, people don't want to end the game because they're about to get a new item. It's like, well, what is that new item going to do? It's going to allow me to win the game. It's like, well, you could just win the game and not get that new item. No, I need this item to win. And it's just this circular argument of like, no, just win the game. They could have instead of double.
They could have on so many opportunities. No, and you're totally right. Like this game is
they were way ahead, and it went on to 70 minutes, and we won because PA built a butterfly into 3 MKBs, and this was a 2K average game, and it just goes to show how easy throws can happen, and we definitely should have lost. And as you said throughout 100%. The game, we posted on YouTube throughout the entire game how we didn't deserve to win.
No, we did
and the
not
whole time
deserve
I
to
was
win.
like, we do deserve to win. I was like, maybe you don't deserve to win, but I deserve to win more than you don't deserve to
No,
win.
we did not deserve to win that game,
I pulled it
especially
back
when we
big
fed.
time, especially after all my shit that happened. I pulled my straps up and had a positive KD and a pretty positive KDA. I don't know what I was at, but I was able to, throw you on my shoulder there and say, "Come on, buddy, it's okay. I'll take you on for a ride."
To be fair, the PA went Battle Fury, Deso, Abyssal Blade,
Butterfly
into Butterfly, and then the BKB was her last item at 53 minutes.
It was super dumb.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
She handed us the game.
What I will agree with is that yes, Luna has a great way to farm. Tinker, just so it doesn't end on this awkward note of fuck Denny. No, you make fine points, but I think what you're failing to realize is that I can't kill Tinker.
Right.
Unless he
it's
makes
the
a
same
mistake.
way.
We're saying all things are even. Both these heroes are two equally good computers. Okay, Luna will never kill Tinker. Tinker will always get away. Even with BKB, Luna will always fail to kill Tinker because Tinker will always get away.
Right, and Tinker in turn should fail to kill her. That's the point.
Maybe. I mean, with two equally good computers, maybe, but no. Tinker has ways, so long as Tinker has vision of Luna, the rockets will hit. That's how those rockets work. It's slightly a range thing. They're huge range, but it's vision. Anyway, BKB, I mean, you got to figure over a 70-minute long game, I'm only BKB'd for maybe a minute.
Sure.
Accounting all of the time I'm BKB'd.
Sure.
From the cooldown to using it. Maybe 1 minute of that 70-minute game, I'm invulnerable to magic. Whereas the whole, maybe 40 minutes of that 70-minute game, or 45 minutes, or maybe even 50 minutes of that game, every single spell he has is off cooldown.
Right. My point was more that you're talking about a 2.7%, not even that. It's a 2.5% advantage that he has over Luna by their calculations.
5% difference, which is meaningful.
It's not a 5% difference. That's a 2.5% difference, is what that means.
Oh, okay. So he has it's a 51 to a 48.
If we adjust all win rates for, let's see, advantage measures the matchup between two heroes regardless of their normal win rate. It is calculated by establishing their win rates both in and outside of the matchup and comparing the difference against a base win rate. So basically comparing against their base win rates, he has a slight advantage, even though he still loses to her more often than not. Because
Luna wins more often than he does.
Right. So, but more or less, that still means that she is far more advantaged over him. I'm saying that matchup. I'm saying that matchup is so much closer than it appears to be that it means that what really matters in that situation is momentum. That's my point. Is that on paper, sure, we can calculate it 100 different ways to try to prove that he's got some form of advantage over her, but it's so damned minuscule and he's so damned underpowered that in order for him to win, it is required for him to have crazy momentum. That's my point.
I see.
Okay, I'm done.
Well,
do you feel like we discussed the outcome of the game often enough?
I feel like we talked about the topic. The game really, we could get better at talking about what actually. The game was actually a really fun game. Went 70 minutes. Denny was like, "We lose. Maybe we have a chance. Maybe we won." It seemed kind of like a rage win for Denny. I had a blast playing that game, but winning as Luna is usually fun. So.
No, I won't say a rage win. I guarantee you. I guarantee we got reported by that team. I guarantee, because we definitely we just opened up by just feeding. I gave up first blood. I think you gave up 2 subsequent kills. There were points. There was a point in that game where it was 17-1, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's not an exaggeration. I'm pretty sure it was 16 or 17-1.
I I remember seeing 16-1. It could have definitely been 17-1. And the one kill was the time I dove tower when you were going to get a kill anyway from your
Oh,
Shadow
right.
Lord.
Yeah. I mean, it was just it was shameful. I mean, the first like 15 or 20 minutes, and then that game got better after muting the rest of the team, who I left muted the entire game. I just didn't bother with the rest of them after that, because like they were pissed at us, and honestly, rightfully so. They did their own dumb things. We definitely talked about the dumb things they did as the game went on, but we, at that point, we were just criticizing our fellow idiots, as I think how I put it. I knew I'd fucked up so much at the beginning of that game. They had every right to hate the dumb shit that we had done.
Oh yeah, I just didn't say anything. Kind of like, all right, I'm gonna play better. I'll pick it up. We're gonna win this game. The whole time I was saying we're gonna win.
Well, I guess.
No.
Well, because we were definitely not going to win that game, and until they decided not to, and you're right, like when they decided they were going to try to go for megas, when they pushed mid and took that set of racks, when they decided that that's what they were going to try to do instead of just go for the victory and end it, that was their first mistake. That was the first mistake, and that mistake was a big one, because we were able to kind of rally. And you were able to continue getting farm, and like we said, like Luna farms. At some point, Luna gets farm, and if you let the game go on long enough, Luna will find a lot of fucking farm, and you did. I mean, and you were able to overcome. You were able to build the right items, and that brought us to the brink. And of course, we were able to team fight a bit more. Like it. There were a couple of team fights. In fact, I think when they double raxed us, it was getting daggered. I got crit daggered by the PA, and it was just, there were no golems. There were no golems in that team fight. Like there was just nothing I could do. I was just gone. And like definitely I was way too far up. And one crit dagger was all it took. And she got it.
Yeah. No, she was good until she wasn't. Like literally, that is all I have to say about that PA. I don't know what she was thinking by building Butterfly. She would have been better building Daedalus. I mean, honestly, if you want...
yeah, if you're going to double up on an ability.
Yeah, if you're going to double up... Daedalus works in tandem with her ult, where it will queue up like an ult, and then it'll queue up a Daedalus, and it'll queue up an ult. Like, you will crit more often if you build a Daedalus on PA. You won't crit off your crit. You'll either Daedalus crit or you'll PA ult crit. So, yeah, she really would have been... Like, we have MKBs, get health or something. Get a Scotty would have been better. A bunch of things would have been better. It was a shame that she built the way she did, because she very quickly found herself with that early lead, and that early... the early lead is what lost them that game, because it was one of those games... I played one today on Centaur War Runner where we were so ahead that I was like, there's no way we can lose this game. And we did, because the early game went so incredibly well that I
think I watched that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
got complacent.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens.
And played like shit, and then started playing like doing stupid shit that you'd never do. And that's what that PA started doing. They were so focused on killing the mega. They were so focused on killing the megas. They need the megas. They need the megas. They need the megas. And you just put one sentry down, and they kept moonlighting in.
One sentry.
Golems would drop. I would BKB. I'd run straight in the middle of them with Eclipse. I'd hit Manta, run out, and glaives would bounce everywhere, and the whole team would die. And about 3 times of them doing that, we were back in the game. And then the fourth time,
39 sentries. 39 sentries were purchased. Sentries. Yeah. I just threw sentries everywhere in that base, so that we knew the moment they Moonlight Shadowed and came anywhere, it's just fuck it.
And they tried. They tried throwing people bottom and then trying to get Megas top with one person. They tried everything, and it was just... It showed that they just needed to take a team fight that wasn't on our high ground. They needed to wait for us to say, oh, we're fine, we can leave, and get like 2 kills and then just straight end game. But they didn't do that. And that's...
Nope. I mean, we definitely didn't deserve to win, but we got
to. That was kind of a rough game. And I can't wait to do another one of these, because I feel like for the first week we had to play like Luna Warlock. Like, goddamn Luna. Like when I saw that I had to pick that, I was like, oh,
I think,
man, like
I
would
think
much rather not.
I think we're gonna have to do that a lot. If that's what we're gonna do, like I think you're gonna be surprised.
I popped to the top today. Like I use Dota Picker for every ranked solo game that I play, and you know, there's a lot of heroes that pop up that aren't Luna a lot of the time.
Well, and I don't mean just Luna, but I mean like those. I think you're gonna see some repeats.
I was seriously considering Morphling, and
yeah,
had something gone differently, Morphling, like had they not picked, say they picked Alchemist instead of Tinker, Morphling was the pick. It would have been Morphling at that point. So,
yeah. Well, next week what we'll do is we'll ban Luna Warlock. We'll nominate them for banning. You know.
Yeah. Just to show, I don't want to be like, and once again, Luna Warlock is the way to go. Hello guys, and we're Luna Warlock again. We're no longer calling this Counterattack. It's called Luna Warlock. And Denny and I definitely did counter-attack each other to the points that we have. We've both been playing Dota as long as each other. We have like that like brotherly relationship, I guess you could say, on Dota. Even though I'm better than him, he still feels like he's my peer.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of a rough thing for him to swallow. So sorry about that. I am literally quantifiably and physically better at Dota than you are, but that's okay because we're doing a good show and we'll get you there. We'll get you there.
Thanks.
Okay?
All right. On that note, I'm closing it. I'm done. It's late. I'm tired. I'm ready to go. I'm playing one more game after this anyway. So,
really?
All right. If you guys want to find us,
you're gonna play one more, huh?
Yeah, it's late. I told Rena I'd play one with her at least, and so I'm going to. God damn it, I'm off tomorrow.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. So defenseofthepatients.com. That's the website. New and exciting stuff coming there.
Are you mad at me, dude?
No, not at all.
Are you a little perturbed?
No, not at all. It's late.
Shooken.
It's 2:15 in the morning.
Shaken. Are you shaken?
No, I'm really not.
Come on.
I'm really not. Like, I'm really not.
Rude. I was rude.
Was I rude? No. I think the audience gets to decide. That's always my.
I'm sorry, Danny.
That's always my sweet revenge. Is that the audience gets to hear and they get to decide if you're right.
Get embarrassed easily.
Yeah. So. I know, and that's the downside. No, I really don't care. I think you're wrong, but I don't care.
Well, that's where the audience can totally help me out.
Yep.
And by the way, I'm looking at Tinker, and it's best versus Luna.
Right.
Like, that's on.
Yes, I know. I addressed that specifically and the math behind that. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that until just now, and I was like, wow. Vindicated! I am right! I am wrong! I am right! I swear I'm right!
Yes, I addressed that specifically several times.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Your argument was just so mind-numbing that I just had.
Right.
It was like a drilling on my tooth, dude. It was just like just zaps to the brain, dude.
At DotP shows where we're at on Twitter. I'm just gonna keep driving along.
Patreon. Some exciting shit happened with Patreon, you guys. Oh my god. We are at $691 per month with 67 patrons. We are within $309 of hitting $1,000 a month. We recently included any donation will get you a gold name in Discord. This is some cool thing that Discord and Patreon teamed up to do. Looks like these guys are all in cahoots, huh? Like Twitch is in cahoots with Discord. If you get Twitch partnered and all that, so
Patreon and you're
Patreon's
right.
Kicking ass, you guys, and we really appreciate all your support. We had a bunch of new patrons this week. This support helps us come up with new shows like Counterattack, where I think Denny and I both did that with Heroes and in Conversation. I think we accomplished it well, Denny. Good job.
Yeah. I completely agree. A ton of great rewards there right now for $10 you can get your name on the new website that's coming out. $20 of course gets you the replay analysis from the show host of your choice, and for $50 we've had 3 people do it, so we're going to be doing 3 build your own episodes of .p. Folks are gonna get to choose the topics, the people who are on the show, all that good stuff. So for $50, you can go do that, and those rewards help us. What we need help with though is figuring out what our $1,000 goal should be. That's the big thing. Yeah. I don't know what to do.
And so, any ideas for the $1,000 goal? Of course, please at .p_show.
Something good, something that the patrons want, something that we can easily deliver to all the patrons would be nice.
Yeah,
all
probably
things.
Something that isn't a physical, tangible thing. Probably.
We're open to
unless
ideas
it's like
and suggestions.
Too good of an idea.
Yeah.
We talked about what the sexy calendar. Of
the sexy show host cosplay calendar. I
would want June, July, and August. You know what I mean? And I do like a Tinker with a Luna. I do Tinker and Luna.
Yeah,
I'd be both Tinker and Luna, and I just show that Luna can't kill Tinker, and Tinker would just
that would be good for you.
That would be my first idea.
Yeah.
You are fuming. I just want you to admit it. That's all.
I just don't care. I really don't care. I feel like I addressed it.
Whatever.
I feel like I was explaining things to a wall.
I'm gonna go to bed and sleep nice. You're just gonna stay awake looking at the ceiling.
I will never think about this conversation ever again.
You're gonna be refreshing Twitter, waiting for somebody to say Cyphus was right.
Don't have to refresh Twitter. Don't have to refresh Twitter at all. I know the folks will be coming in and letting me know.
All right. It is time to close Counterattack.
Also, email us at defensethepatients@gmail.com. That's where you can send pre-recorded questions. If you guys have any sort of memo recorder or voice recorder, you can record yourself asking a question for the Tuesday Q&A. Send it to us at defensethepatients@gmail.com. Also, write in questions. You can submit that way as well. You can visit us at discord.gg/.p to ask questions live on the show. That happens every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You just PM me in the Discord, and I'll put you on the list and we'll get to you. We tried to get through as many email backlog questions as we could last week. So I know we didn't get to as many live callers, but if you get to me early, I can make sure that you're on the list and you'll get on the show. Let's see. And if you can't make it, 888-410-7150, where you can call and leave a voicemail to .p, and we'll get to the question that way. I know we had one voicemail that we didn't get to last week because we were way backed up on the email. But it needed to happen. We needed to start burning through and churning through some of those. Coming up Monday, tune in for Proudland. That's right. Any idea what you guys are going to be talking about?
It's a secret.
That means no. All right. That's good to know. Next week.
Luna versus Tinker. That's what we're going to talk about.
Good.
Do a whole fucking episode on it.
I look forward to it.
Drill it into your numbskull, dude. Close the show, please.
Next Wednesday, Android from Moonduck Caster. We're going to be doing a one-on-one interview with her. You can tune in to hear that. I think that's all we know about next week for the schedule. So late.
I'm mad. That's who's fucking mad.
Hey, you just get mad, buddy. You just go ahead and get mad. Are you sure? For youtube.com/.ptv1, twitch.tv/.ptv. Them's the plugs. This is the show. Thanks for tuning into the first Counterattack. Until next time, this is Cyphus for Roland.
Counterattack.
Saying good luck and Godspeed.